Fire. Hey, listen, I'm going to have a link for all the Truth's records. Because people been asking, man, where can I get that? Where can I get that? That's fire. Oh, my God. Where can I get? I'm going to have a link for his record shortly. I got to do a little business today. Everybody that's been ordering books, I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Some orders have come back to me because your addresses aren't correct. And then you hit me, where my book, where my book, where my book? Get the address correct, okay? Last week we had some technical difficulties, so I wasn't able to move the 15 copies that are remaining. You know, I wasn't able to get them out. I think we got maybe 2 or 3 orders, I think. Listen, I got a special plan for y'all. I got a special plan for y'all this week. This is what I'm going to do. You go to IamZoeWilliams.com right now and order my book, because there's only 15 copies left, or actually around 12 copies left. For those who order right now, I'm going to include a disc that I put together a couple of years back. It's called Street Scholar. It is a lecture that I'm teaching on God. It's called the God Class Volume 1. Now, what's really interesting is me and one person. The person is asking me questions about religion and God. I took that conversation, edited, and put music to it, right? It's very meditative and peaceful, and it's really, really dope. If you order the Rebirth of Seeds right now at IamZoeWilliams.com, I'll include this, plus I'll autograph it and send it out to you tomorrow. So let's stop playing. I'll get it to you tomorrow. Also, just listen, Dr. Mark Goulston, you've got to support that. Real Men Don't Play, Bobby Glanton-Smith, you got to support that. And, we got folk in the building. First, let me get at my homeboy directly to my left, the producer, manufacturer, owner, founder, creative genius behind Oui Juice. My man Hassan is in the building. Hassan, talk to us about your product, and you have a special...
I got a special rate for all the Zoe Williams fans, followers.
How about that?
Discount, 15% discount, also free products, free bags.
Just for my listeners.
For your listeners that call in at One Juices.
A 15% discount for Zoe What listeners only is what you're telling me.
Yes, sir.
Plus maybe a t-shirt.
Maybe
a bag.
Possibly a bag and t-shirt, depending on what we have in stock, because shirts are going by really quick.
How about it? How about it? Oui Juice is in the building right now. And also, sitting directly to the left of you, right?
Right.
To the left of you is the home girl. Look how beautiful. Lord have mercy, Jesus, and then some. Rita G is in the building. Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the Zoe Up Morning Show.
Thank you. It's really a privilege, Joe. I just have so much respect for you and the work that you're doing here, and especially connecting people to these just life-changing resources like Veronica Conway and the Wantrepreneur Program, which I am.
You joined
I'm not only a member. Yes, I'm involved in it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're learning some things?
Well, I mean, it really in just 2 weeks, one of the main things is that, we've all been to seminars, we've all been to, these workshops, and where we're given tools to, grow our businesses and stuff like that. And in many cases, we pay a lot of money for it. Mm-hmm. But as she points out, if you don't really uninstall those internal mental programs that keep you from utilizing the tools, they'll never work for you anyway.
Like the belief breakthrough?
Exactly.
How about it? Yeah.
Annihilating the limiting beliefs. And, I'm a new person.
You're blown away, right?
I'm just a new person. So I look forward to completing it. And I want to encourage anybody out there who's got a business that may not be reaching the profitability that they're looking for, and just want to make that breakthrough,
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, again, you can go to blackmastery.com, number one, get her NLP program. Now, for people who joined the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur Bootcamp.com, right, W2EBootcamp.com, For people who join that, they get the NLP that I'm about to promote as a part of that package, right?
I need that.
So blackmastery.com, you can download that right now from blackmastery.com. It's an NLP program that undoes the Willie Lynch and the limiting beliefs and all of the negative stereotypical beliefs that, you know, black people tend to be raised with.
Exactly.
So it undoes all of that. Go there right now. Order Black Mastery from blackmastery.com. Get it right now. Now, let's go back to something that you're doing. You have a skincare product, a line, right? Skincare line for men. I use it.
And women.
And women, right? I use it. Talk to us about that, please.
Well, I've often heard a lot of men say that, you know, the woman looks prettiest when she doesn't have on any makeup. And, you know, oh, take that mask off, especially a beautiful woman. And I want fellas to know, women, we want to look beautiful without wearing makeup. We, you know, and we would wear less makeup if our skin was healthy, vibrant, glowing, and we didn't feel that we had something to hide or conceal. And really, that's what happens. You know, when you wear a lot of those things, you know, there's people feel like you're hiding something.
So what's the name of your product?
My product is called Via Skincare. Via is the French word for through or by way of.
Via.
So it's through the skin that we, you know, feed it this nutrition the same way with your juices. How a lot of people may think their body is working fine, but with optimum nutrition, performance is enhanced.
Wow.
So people, you know, we say black don't crack. People might say I don't have problem skin, but with optimum nutrition, you know, there you go. And then, you know, people, if you're 50 and you still look good, you know, they're like, oh, it's time to start a new skincare regimen. No, you should have started 20 years ago.
Wow.
Because maintenance and preventive maintenance is, you know.
So where do they get your product? Is it set up and ready to go for people to purchase?
Yes.
Even. Where do they buy this Via Skin product?
Via skinscience.com.
People don't know. You're not just beautiful. You're a damn biochemist. They don't understand it.
I have a little, I discovered I have a little knack for chemistry, you know, and science.
And she created this skin line product, this skincare product, and it's Via Skin Science.
.com.
ViaSkinScience.com. Don't play yourself. Go support Rita G. Also, please support WeJuice.com. 2 Black-owned businesses out here doing it. On the Zoe What Morning Show, you get a 15% discount. If you're a Zoe What listener, please support the Brothers Movement. Also, like I said before, if you want a copy of my lecture on religion and God, you got to be one of the first to buy the last few copies of The Rebirth of Seeds. I will put this in the book, in your package, and mail it out tomorrow. Autograph signed. Go there now. I am Zoe Williams. Let's get this cracking. Listen, when we come back, topics, guests, you know how we do. The Zoe What Morning Show, October 13th, in the building. Let that beat ride. Let's go.
And one of the greatest tragedies in life is getting to the end of your life and looking back and realizing it was mediocre, and it didn't have to be that way. The number one reason is people are unwilling to listen and care about what's important to the other person. But what if you could be someone who dared to care about everybody in your life? When you're in love, smoke gets in your eyes. But when you're anxious, you talk more than you listen. I asked my wife a month ago, I said, I don't know whether to have an affair or buy a motorcycle. And she said, if you have an affair, I'll kill you. If you get the motorcycle, you'll kill yourself. Go with the bike.
You love your music, don't you? No?
Don't get me started there. You know, this token white guy gig is not the best thing in town. Anyway, but we're going to talk about how do you keep a nuclear family from going nuclear. And if you have a nuclear family of people who can only be right and never be wrong, it's going to go nuclear. So if you have a family of individuals, when you ask them, would you rather make our family better or be right, and you can't have both, if they pause, you know they have to be right, and that family's going to go nuclear. Now that's fun when we go at each other on the radio, because it helps people who have narcolepsy to stay awake. But here's the tip. What people should do if they want to prevent their nuclear family from going nuclear is they should sit down and say, going forward, how do we keep a difference of opinion from turning into a disagreement, an argument, a fight, or a war? And so you focus on the future, that no one has messed up yet, and you ask, and you get people to, because whenever you bring up anything that's already happened, it's just, no one's going to listen. People are just going to be defending their position. So ask your family, sit down, how do we keep a difference of opinion from never getting worse than a disagreement, and you might keep your nuclear family nuclear.
Wow. Thanks, Dr. G, for the alley-oop. Here we come. Today's topic, it's a doozy. I know you guys saw Raven Simone. She said, hey, I'm not down with the labels. Don't call me gay. Don't call me African American. Right? I know you guys saw that, right? I know you guys have been paying attention to what's been going on in Ferguson and what was going on in New York and what's going on in Los Angeles with regards to how police black men. And when we did that show about Eric Garner right before Mike Brown, I said police don't police black men, they police stereotypes, right? Well, today's topic, the burden of living with stereotypes. And you know I have questions. Oh, damn, I got questions. Listen, if you want to participate, 855-878-4652. I promise, today I promise I'm getting to the phone line. So call me right now. Engineer crew, if that line light up, let me know. I want to hear from the people today. 855-878-4652. That's the number to dial. Is the LBGT? Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm not going to mess that up for you.
I know, Bobby. Jesus. Because your little stereotype is old school, and that's what it is. Is the LGBT or LBGT? I don't know what it's called. Somebody tell me what it's called. Is that community leading the change in tailor-making the nuclear family? Has America dropped the ball on negative stereotypes of gender, sexual orientation, and race? And why I say the lesbian, gay, bi community, whatever, why I ask if they're leading it, because in a way they want families, right?
They have families.
And those families don't look like the stereotypical traditional family, right? So I guess those kids would be raised in an environment that produces an entirely different perspective, right? Well, let's talk about it. Is that changing the face of the nuclear family? More questions. Do you agree or disagree with Raven Simone's assertion regarding sexual orientation and race? Let's go deeper. Stereotypes are all over the place. What are some of the worst stereotypes that exist? Are all black men lazy? 855-878-4652. Is the black woman's preferred man? This is going to be tough. I got to say it. The white racist system of welfare. A lot of times they put that, that connectivity together. The white man is going to solve my problems. Are all black women like that? Do they all run to the white man to solve their problems? Whether it's judicial, whether it's for provision. Somebody answer those questions. 855-878-4652. Are stereotypes behind the engineering of so-called genetic specific biological warfare agents? AIDS, Ebola? How is it that the cure, according to some folk, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. We might have to ask Rita G. According to some folk, they say there's a cure out there, but it only works on Caucasians. Right? Genetic specific? That had to be created with a stereotype in mind, right? Want to make sure that all shiftless, lazy rapper niggas die and all sweet white people live. We got to ask these questions. What would the American family look like without gender bias or stereotypes? Are stereotypes useful? In what ways are they useful? Somebody call us, 855-878-4652. I promise my team is going to let me know when you call. I'm going to get your information. We're going to talk. Somebody reach out to us right now. I got one more question before I throw it to the crew. Was racial profiling / stereotyping a part of Planned Parenthood's original blueprint? Eugenics? Margaret Sanger? Who want to talk about it today? I know y'all scared. Who want to talk about it? I ain't scared. Dr. G, show us your whiteness. Speak on it.
I don't know what this has to do. Here's the stereotype of the day. I wrote a blog. It's probably not going to get published because it's in a more white publication in Black Men, and it's called No Country for Black Men. And it's talking about how Obama has been homogenized because he can't show his anger or rage openly because he shows a little bit of that and he will be painted with the same brush of all angry black men. And so every time he wants to have a cigarette, he wants to smack someone. So I don't know what he's doing with that. And I know this because every black leader who has made it and has been successful in the world out there, they've all told me the same thing because they open up to me and I say, I know you got outrage. I know you are furious. What do you do with it? And they say, it's a tough choice because all you have to do is let it leak out once and people then say, I knew it. Yep. I saw it just like everyone else. And so we have to keep a lid on it. And I think that's the problem for Obama. My guess is he's got lots of anger and frustration inside, but he's not allowed to show it.
And if he's not allowed to show it, is he telling the truth for himself? And when I say tell the truth, I mean living the truth.
No, what's happened is I think initially because he was so evangelical in his tone and he felt so much more alive than the defensive candidates of McCain or Clinton or Romney. But what's happened is he can do that, but it feels disingenuous because what we want to do is we want to feel him and we can still feel that tone. He has that intonation and whatever, but it's not working for him because he needs to step forward and speak from who he is and what he cares most about, and he has to keep a lid on it because if he gets too fiery, he's going to be marginalized.
The angry black man,
that's
for
right.
sure. Bobby?
Well, I don't think the stereotypical label fits President Obama. I was watching 60 Minutes last night, and they was dealing with national security issues, and the gentleman who wrote for the New York Times who was on mentioned the fact that during the Obama administration, more First Amendment rights have been suppressed than all 5 previous presidents put together. And I thought about that for a minute, and I realized that once Corey Holcomb said a long time ago that presidents are selected as opposed to elected. So I don't know if he fits the stereotypical profile or not, because during his administration, he has mirrored the behavior of previous presidents more so than he has.
But still been disrespected for it. But Dr. G's point is still there. He's still been disrespected for it because at the end of the day, no one can argue that this current sitting president isn't the most disrespected president. Not to say that George W. wasn't disrespected. Somebody threw a shoe at his ass. But being drawn as a monkey, him and his wife, always drawn as monkeys. There's always some watermelon in a picture. Now he's brushing his teeth with watermelon-flavored toothpaste. I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes that have been associated with Obama.
But they don't fit. But they don't fit him.
But no, it doesn't fit his behavior. But he's still a black man.
Really?
And what he's saying is, I agree with Dr. G on this one because at no time in the history of the presidency has there ever been a president that had to be worried about the perception that is associated with his race. Obama is worried about the angry black man stereotypical perception. And that's why people get frustrated. When is he going to get mad? When is he going to get angry? Because he knows if he pops off like we pop off, see, I told you he was an angry black man, and you know how politics roll. then the spin machine gets to rolling, and now he's really going to get bombed.
It's like when we needed a Nixon to go to China. If a Democrat went to China, then we would be cavorting with the enemy originally.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is Obama really has a lid on him, because if he starts to act pro-black, well, we knew it was like that. And something else that we've talked about in previous shows, what is it, when you have all this monkey watermelon thing, what is it that frightens white men about black men, white society? And we talked about it. And I think what frightens most white people, especially white men, about black people is white people put themselves in the shoes of black people and say, I know they'd be angry, because if that was me, if I was disregarded, if I was just marginalized, I'd be furious. And the fact that they're not showing it means that they're not being genuine. So you can't win either way, because it's the whites
We don't believe
feeling.
you.
That's right.
Yeah,
we don't believe
Rita
you,
G.
because if I was you, I know I'd be angry at me.
Go ahead, Rita. Say it.
Yeah, I just said, we don't believe you. That's the collective. But I do kind of identify with what Bobby is saying, in that, okay, if he, did this show of pro-blackness, it would just be for histrionics, because he's still purporting the agenda that's there to be purported. So, who really cares?
It matters in this way to me, in terms of the arc of this conversation about stereotypes. They only fit. A stereotype only fits if you buy into that, because there's always been other examples. People always talk about Jackie Robinson as though he just put up with overt racism. When he was in the United States military, they court-martialed him because he would not tolerate being treated as a second-class citizen.
Right.
Even when he played professional baseball, he did that for 1 year, in terms of taking all of the indignities that we saw them continually replay. After that first season, he'd go in hard.
And what's interesting about that? Isn't that the methodology of the slave master, is to try to break the buck? Get the most radical, the most defiant, and break him in? Because if we can break him in, all others will follow suit. Listen, So What Morning Show, we about to take a quick break. When we come back, more guests, more info, stereotypes. Are you living through one? We'll be back in a second to discuss it. Deuces. Ladies and gentlemen, the So What Morning Show is back in the building. Corey Holcomb has joined the conversation. We're talking about stereotypes. And if you've been paying attention, 2014 has been a tumultuous year in a lot of ways with regards to stereotypes. There have been some hella flare-ups. Ferguson was one. Eric Garner was another. And it's not like these are just insulated, isolated situations that happen. These are things that just so happen to get some of the media attention that the other ones that go unreported or unrecorded, that they don't get. But again, I always say, if the police are are profiling and looking at people through a stereotype, especially if the stereotype makes you guilty. Black people are shifty. Black males are shifty. You understand what I'm saying? That's somebody I need to be suspicious of right off the top. This is why sometimes when they cast that broad net, they pull back some of the accomplished blacks. Right?
Some?
Yeah. When the accomplished blacks get pulled, then it's, oh, wow, this is a problem. But what about the unaccomplished black that wasn't doing nothing? Trayvon wasn't accomplished. Was he?
No.
He wasn't accomplished. Oscar Grant wasn't accomplished. Eric Garner wasn't accomplished. But you see what I'm saying? Sometimes now we got to catch one of them in order, it's got to be so egregious, and then we have to recognize, man, this is how these people are policing us. So how do we break down the stereotypes? That's why we're doing this show today. I had to rephrase it. How many of you feel that Michael Jackson, right? Maybe he was building a family that was outside of the stereotype of being black. We all know them kids ain't white. Or they're not black. Those some white kids. Maybe that was a fantasy he wanted to create for himself. People are now starting to tailor-make their own type of family. What about Raven-Symoné? I want to hear what you guys think about Raven-Symoné when she shut down the labels on Oprah, when she said, hey, I'm not African-American, don't call me that. And I'm not gay, don't call me gay. Let's go deep into that.
I think that everyone has the right to self-identify whatever it is they say, but as Tim Wise pointed out, is that the larger society is going to remind you in a million subtle little ways of your blackness and ensure that you have a black experience.
Please remember.
And it's the people who are doing the oppressing that decide your label or your race category, not the suppressed, essentially.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I saw Raven Simone in the bank years ago. I happened to be in the bank, and she was all over her little Caucasian girlfriend. So everything that I saw is what she don't want me to recognize. I don't understand. My eyes lied to me. Yeah. In fact, the girl she was with was like, "Damn, bitch, everybody looking at her."
Wow.
So I'm just saying, Raven Simone, you know, that's what happened with that. When you get that money when you're young, all them kids grow up weird, then a motherfucker. All them TV kids, boy, you can fuck them for popsicles.
Wow.
So you're gonna have fun with this thing.
Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, that's right, no curse.
Now I need the philosopher in this one.
Go ahead.
Go deeper, Whitey Locks. No, I just always wanted to say that.
One of the stereotypes. Let's go. Whitey Locks.
I would blush, but then I would lose my whiteness.
No, you'd be white still.
You'd be invisible.
You're gonna like this. So, do you think that when people don't know who they are, which a lot of people don't, one of the ways to figure it out is by identifying who you're not? And maybe stereotypes are a way of saying, I'm not like that. Well, then you punish that. But a lot of people really don't know who they are, but they can say, I'm not that, I'm not that.
That doesn't work.
And you know, also I was thinking, not that I want to take in this direction, but is there such a thing as a positive stereotype? I don't know. Or is it always negative?
That is a great question, because on Facebook, that was floating around. Name 2, 3, 1 positive black male stereotype.
No, they'd say role model. They wouldn't say stereotype, would they? They'd say positive role model.
It's a black male stereotype that's positive.
What is it?
Yeah, I already know what it is.
Just let it go. Say it. You can say it, man.
Well, it's like this. As soon as you walk up to a woman, especially of another race, they think you working with something.
Right off the bat, right?
Right. So you get that credit in the beginning. You got to lose that credit by being around that person.
You got to lose it.
Is that considered a positive? Because that specifies that we oversexed.
That specifies what you say?
Black people are oversexed.
It could be. It could be spun negatively.
No, it's they're over endowed because I just pushed my knees together.
Wow.
That was a good one.
To protect myself.
Over endowed, I'm telling you, I mean, like, I believe that with some women, you know, that's not their thing, but they're still interested.
Always.
Well, there was a report that said there was a recent report out that said it was a study where they asked a whole swath of women across the country, and they found that the bigger the penis is, the more likely the woman is to cheat.
Yeah, I saw that.
Say what?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know where they did that fake ass survey at. They need to stop that bullshit right there.
Let me comment on something Mark said about identifying what you're not. So, for example, I can only speak from my experience, and I was point, and a lot of times these models, once they kind of graduate a little bit, now every interview that they do, it becomes, because I'm very intelligent, I'm not like those other models.
Because the stereotype of the model is just, I'm beautiful.
But see, the more that you say, I'm not like that, the more a person puts you in that category anyway. She's trying too hard to not be, you know what I'm saying?
Because you don't have to say what it is.
Exactly. A rich person don't have to walk around with a sign on his forehead that says, I'm rich.
Well, you bring up another issue. Another issue that kind of grabs me is we've talked about nobody phobia here. And a lot of people feel that if you're not somebody, you're nobody. And people are so desperate to find out a way to be somebody, because being anybody is the same as being nobody. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Interesting point.
Mark Twain once said,
Make your point real quick, and I want to pull this caller in.
No, go ahead with the caller.
Caller, you're on the line. Holla at us. Zoe What Morning Show. Yeah. What's up? What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Montreal, Canada, and my name is Yves.
Your name is Eve?
Oh, I know.
Yes, like Yves Saint Laurent, Yves.
Okay. I was thinking Eve from the Bible, but go ahead, speak on it.
You were stereotyping him.
Yeah, I was mentioning that stereotype will always be there because I think that's a way to control us in a sense that we cannot do things right. No matter what we do, it's wrong. So it's a mind game. It's a way to control us. And also, since we've been kidnapped, you're not going to have equal rights because if we take it in a smaller scale, let's say somebody kidnaps you, they're going to put you in a chain, they're going to treat you really bad. And once they will be able to control you, you will be able to roam around, do certain things. But they will keep an eye on you. They will make sure that you won't be able to do everything you want because they know that the kidnappers are wrong. So anytime they give you a chance, you will turn against them. So that's our opinion for today.
Well, Eve, thank you for the call, man. We appreciate it all the way from Canada. I'm glad you guys are listening to what we're cooking up over here. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
See why his name Eve now, man. Put you to sleep.
Lord.
Listen. When we come back, I want us to deal with, that topic. You guys remember there was a lesbian couple that got a little black baby back from the donor, from the sperm donor bank. They didn't want a black baby. They're living outside the stereotypical nuclear family. They want to pick and choose and tailor make their family. We want a little white girl. We two white lesbians, we want a little white girl. I thought it was just about being parents. Did you see the little baby, the little black girl? She was so cute, pretty,
She cute to you. She ain't cute to them.
Hey. Is this the era we're living in right now? Designer families? When we come back. So What Morning Show. I'll talk to you in a minute. Deuce!
Although the white Christians of Spain deeply desired during this entire period to expel the blackamoors from their country, it is nevertheless an undisputed historical fact that medieval Spain was the cultural, educational, and scientific center of Europe. The Moorish kings lived in castles of highly polished marble, with elaborately carved walls and beautiful mosaic floors, while European kings lived in cold, damp castles of unfinished stone, crude by comparison. The streets of Spain's capital city, Córdoba, were well paved and completely illuminated by public lights, at a time when the streets of London were dark and covered with mud. The Moors possessed all the knowledge of ancient Greece, which was lost to Europe until the Renaissance. They made important contributions to philosophy, medicine, mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, and botany. Doesn't sound like such a dark age after all, does it? There were academies for the rich, free schools for the poor, and libraries containing books from all over the world. The Jews of medieval Spain got along famously with the Muslims, and for them the sojourn in that nation is remembered as being the second most glorious period in their history, exceeded only by the glory of the reigns of David and Solomon in ancient Israel. Medieval Spain was the time and place of Maimonides and many of the other great Old Testament scholars whose works constitute the foundations of modern Jewish thought. Throughout the Middle Ages, the white Christians of Spain endeavored to thrust out the Moors. It took them until 1492 to do that. When Isabella and Ferdinand finally defeated the last Moorish king in Granada,
every now and again, I got to play a video. We're back. The So What Morning Show back in the building. We're talking about stereotypes. See, if you don't have a knowledge of your true history, then you have to live up to the social framing that your rulers give you, right? Now, I'm not necessarily angry with Raven Simone for saying I'm not African American. Well, if you're not African American, at least know what you were, so you can identify with what you were, right? Mm-hmm. But black people don't even have that knowledge. I like to have white people drop the science, because the reason why I do that is because black people tend not to listen to other black folk. Why? Because the author of authority in the life you live is the white man. You live in a white supremacist society. So when the white man says this is successful and you've made it, niggas go, yep, thank you, boss. That's what I've strived for. So I have to bring a white man on to say, wait a minute, medieval Spain was ruled by black kings. And the advancement of that society was so far beyond England and Italy and everywhere else that was the center of knowledge in medieval Europe. I have to have a white man come on and say that. Why? This is why we are associating ourselves with stereotypes, and I'm asking you to challenge these beliefs. So we're back, and the panel's been talking, you know, during the break. Go ahead, Corey, what did you have?
A video like that, Zoe, what you should have done, like one day me and you, we should play that video where you press a little segment of that video and I critique it in street terms.
I'm with it.
And then people, it will really open their eyes, because even though that man is dropping bombs, you're still missing some who might listen, but they get intimidated by his language.
Yeah.
So when you have it critiqued in a way where people can understand it two ways, you have him as the validation,
right?
And then you have somebody speaking the other way. That'll be something brilliant.
Smitty and Hoppy.
A TV show.
Let's do it.
You know
That's
what I mean?
Smitty and Hoppy. I'm down with that 100%.
Can you tell her?
But I also do this too, though. Black man who is intimidated by language, understand that you're the father of language, even English. You're the father of it all. Don't be scared.
That means you created the shit.
Exactly. Black man, the first language on planet Earth was cuneiform. And from cuneiform comes hieroglyphics.
Now translate that.
The first language was jive.
But it's all yours. So just because white people very, very clever with this. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I want to claim Egypt and the pyramids and everything there. So what I got to do is reclassify race so I can claim Egypt and still be justified for going into Africa and taking people as slaves.
And making Ebola so that you can justify bombing the land and act like you saving the rest of the world. Because that's what they own.
Go ahead, man.
You talk about stereotypes. One of the most damaging stereotypes is that white people are smart. And it's interesting because we'll sleep right through
saying
that.
white people dumb?
Is
that what you're saying?
As a box of rocks.
Not as a whole.
Not as a whole,
That's not
Bobby.
what you meant.
We got a smart white man sitting right here.
Man, look at here, man. I was with this white man.
Man, look at here. Shit.
This white man, we was in a meeting, and the first thing he did was walk into somebody else's space, all right? And he walked right past all of the stop signs. First of all, you in somebody else's camp. It was a boxing camp. He didn't look around the room or anything to notice who was in charge or anything. He thought he was in charge, and it cost him money. That's stupid. That's dumb for you not to know when you are at home and when you're away.
But I want to say this.
George Bush would go into a room with foreign leaders from all over the world and be the dumbest person in the room.
Because he can.
And look what it cost us.
Thank you.
That's because he can.
There was a consequence for that.
What was the consequence?
We're paying for it right now.
What are we paying for?
He not paying for it.
No, what are we paying for? Well, you got to hear this.
Okay. Here's what we're paying for. Every time you cash a check, they're deducting money from that check, right? They call it taxes. All right? So it's costing you that dumb son of a bitch committed us to a war that's still going on long after he done left office. He's been out of office almost 8 years, and we still paying for a war he started.
It's amazing how people think that George Bush has that much power.
He don't.
He's their front man, brother.
Do you pay taxes?
I want to say this, though, about the first thing you said. I believe that in all races, there are intelligent people and there are dumb people.
Right.
All races. I've seen some dumb black people, and I've seen some very intelligent black people. I've seen some dumb Caucasian people, very intelligent Caucasian people, Asian, you name it.
Okay.
So I don't think in one race you can name any one race anything, because it's individuality.
I stand corrected on that.
All right, yeah.
But the perception.
I know you meant it that way, Bobby.
Yeah, you're right.
You're just speaking from the heart, from what you've been through, because we've all done that.
He's speaking from his pain.
Right.
Go ahead, Hassan.
But what that white cat did was called white privilege.
Right.
That's what he did.
Entitlement.
Entitlement.
In fact, he was looking at John like, y'all niggas in my way. Get the fuck out my way.
You know, it's interesting because Jews, I'm Jewish,
No shit.
No shit.
There go Bobby.
No, here's what we have in common, except we have it much better, the Jews. Blacks, especially black men, are feared. Jews are resented. And they're resented because, how'd you fix all the banks? How did you get all the money? How'd you figure all this sort of stuff? But I'll tell you, Jews, when they walk in a room, unless they kind of know their place, because there is a certain paranoia, amongst the community that is against us. And part of the reason Israel has to defend itself is because, if you had the enemy building underneath your house, and their main thing was they were going to kill you, and you literally have a foundation, and under your house is that, that could probably cause anyone to feel a little bit unsettled.
I have a question for you, Doc, and then I'm going to go to Bobby.
Please.
Can't we just be frank?
Don't not be frank.
How do Jews reconcile, I'm talking about modern day Jews, how do they reconcile taking that land? Because if we speak genetically, historically, the Jews who are in Israel today, most of their genetic makeup will connect them to the Khazaria of Russia, Poland. They're not indigenously, genetically from that land.
Okay.
How do you reconcile
here's
that?
an interesting thing, and I think there's a parallel here. I think the Jews were able to do it because the shame surrounding the Holocaust was so huge, and they almost got totally decimated. There's not that many Jews, a lot more blacks in the world. So I think the world had this guilt conscience. Well, let's give them some place because they were all killed off.
The world?
In Europe.
The world or America?
No, I'm not even talking about Europe. Well, let's give them a place. But I think there was a shame element. But here's the parallel. Where is the shame in America for enslaving black people?
There's none.
Because there's a lot more than 6 million kids over here.
That's a great question.
But here's we're talking about we're talking stereotypes, and one of the stereotypes about Jews that I want to speak to today is that they are not a willful people. I don't see them as being deferential. There's a movie out called Defiance. It came out a couple of years ago. Mm. If you see that movie, it'll change your perception of what a Jew is. He's a killer. He's a killer and a defender, just like you said, there's no totalities. That's a great example that they ain't all bookkeepers. Some of them are killers. Real killers.
Oh, yeah, and the Israeli army is one of the most effective armies in the world. Right. And rightly or wrongly, they'll say, well, we need to be this. We need to have the whatever that Iron Dome defense because it's raining. Raining bombs to kill us, and so now maybe it's overplayed because
big time. Because those are
I'm always one person that lays back and plays the victim like, oh.
Guys, we have a caller on the line. They want to chime in. Caller. What's your name and where you're calling from? Welcome to the Zoe What Morning Show. The phone lines are open, 855-878-4652. You better get in now, because I don't hardly ever take callers. Let's do it right now. Where you calling from? What's your name?
What's up, fool?
Caller?
Yes.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Girl calling out of Tuscaloosa from Detroit, though.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, calling out of Tuscaloosa. Calling out of Tuscaloosa from Detroit, though.
Got you.
Okay, got you. You said it twice. We got you. Now, what's your point, brother? Holler at us.
Yeah, my point on the stereotype, which I was talking about. First off, respect to the whole cast.
Thank you.
Yeah, first off, respect to the whole cast y'all got.
Is this a real?
Give him a chance, huh?
Okay.
We listening, brother. Yeah, we listening.
Yeah, respect to the whole cast. What I got to say about the stereotypes is basically what you said about the war strategy, about the propaganda strategy. Mm-hmm. It's basically where they make the Caucasian the right image, and they make us the bad image through the propaganda of the lie. Like you said, it's like the war strategy you was talking about. It's like through our music, through hip-hop, if you notice, all we do is tell the lie, and people believe it.
Wow.
That's true.
Wow. Okay. I like that, man. Thank you so much for calling from Tuscaloosa, man. I appreciate it. By way of Detroit.
They lie about things most of the time.
That was a hell of a point.
But those are the rappers who are allowed to be seen. The ones who are not allowed to be seen have brilliant songs.
Talib Kweli.
Talib Kweli.
Most Def.
Please check out D.A. Smart.
D.A. Smart.
Nobody like D.A. Smart to me. He shuts it down.
He's been around a while.
Listen, we're about to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to finish up the topic.
Google D.A. Smart. Hey, let me hit that shit from the back. I'm trying to remake this movie. It's called 12 Years of Side Chick. I got 2 tickets to Panama.
Yeah, so we did.
Hey, what's up? So, as I was hit with this last minute rant, I want to talk about deadbeat dads and where they come from. Deadbeat dads are created by the scummy, low-standard whores with effortless pussy. You must know that there would be no deadbeat dads if it was a little harder to be with you sexually, ladies. Deadbeat dads are men who feel like you and your baby are not worth their time and extra pennies. So the next time you decide to, because there was this one lady on the internet, she had a picture of her child's father and had deadbeat dad, and it was turned into a T-shirt that she had the baby wearing. Yeah, she had the baby wearing this T-shirt. So I want that man to know that because your standards were so low with who you insert inside of, now you have a little baby that will grow up to hate you as well. Your job as a man is to go out there and find a woman that you feel you can be happy to see. And I know how it is on them late nights where you just go ahead and you deal with the girls who built bad, talk bad, and they house smell bad. So now you are stuck with a child that will grow up and repeat the process of failure. So all you deadbeat dads, you are a deadbeat dad because you slept with a deadbeat woman, and deadbeat women who think they're not deadbeat moms, you are lost. And that's my rant today.
Wow.
There it is.
Jeez. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, that was Corey Holcomb sitting in for Geoff Brown doing his intellectual rant for the day. If you agree or disagree, you can follow Corey at
The Corey Holcomb on Twitter.
Please respond. Send your responses to Corey right now if you agree or disagree. That was great, man. I love it. I love it.
Hey, deadbeat moms.
Somebody on Twitter just said, studies show how our brains skip details in order to process information faster. That's why stereotypes are useful. So if I can clump all of this information into a stereotype, it is more easily digestible to my mind. So again, we hear things like confirmation bias, right? Where it's just so much information that's inundating our nervous system, we tend to narrow that information down to a particular perspective. I was telling my son today, as he was going to school, I said, remember, son, you model your household. So if you're arguing with your mom, if you're arguing with your sister, you're probably going to argue with other people because that's your model, right? So now, the stereotype is a model, a template by which we interface with each other. Christians are not going to get with Muslims. Not that it doesn't happen, but all too often there's a conflict between ideas as opposed to conflict between people.
You know, the caller about all this processing thing, that triggered something. You know, I think one of the functions, not a good one, of stereotype is when you stereotype someone, you don't have to empathize with them. Ooh. And if you don't empathize with them, you don't have to see them as a human being. You can see them as a thing. And so, and why would you want to see someone as a thing? Well, because when you empathize with someone, when you walk in someone else's shoes, you might have to give up your point of view, and you don't want to give up your point of view. And so I think stereotyping serves the function is, well, that's a thing, that's an object, and I don't have to understand where they're coming from. Therefore, I don't have to ever change the way I look at them.
Rita G?
I agree. And if we look at the way that our black men are, portrayed in the media as the, monsters and derelicts and Little Wayne-ish types or whatever, then when they're slain, like, the Oscar Grants, the Trayvon, it's almost like there's a part of the white people or collective society that says we're better off without that type anyway. We're better off without their type.
So there's a question on it. A week ago, I went down and I spoke at the Union Rescue Mission to homeless teens, who have to stay there. And, to be honest, I'd really never spent too much time down on Skid Row at nighttime. And I got this flashback when I was in Mumbai and Delhi, and the difference was the poverty was probably as bad or worse in Mumbai or Delhi, but the people were happy. And what came to me is when I looked at these poor souls or soulless souls in Skid Row, and this is the challenge to my respected co-host here, is I said they had their history taken out from under them, and so they don't have anything to stand on. Whereas in India, they have a history. They have a way to bond. When the Jews, they've never really been lost. They've been wandering Jews. They've been wandering whatever. But when I looked at Skid Row, it was like your history was eviscerated, and you've been trying to compensate for it. And maybe there needs to be a new history for the black community, different, equal, better, more relevant than the African slave identity. I'd like to hear from people.
Corey, translate that.
I don't think I can, because
it was too ideologues.
No. What he was saying, I get it, but there doesn't need to be a new history.
Yeah.
The history that needs to be known needs to be taught, because there's a lot of people out there who literally have no idea who the fuck they are. They don't know. And I want to say this about stereotypes, because I think this is going to jumpstart something right here. I think you should be allowed to stereotype people if you have a certain level of intelligence.
But that's what happens.
No, I'm saying,
I like that.
No, people perpetrate intelligence. People act like they're smart because they have a diploma,
a degree
or something
like that. Dumb as rocks.
If we're going to look for something to try to create, we need to try to establish something that shows whether or not a person is intelligent, even though they have tests.
You're going to look, Corey. You're going to love this. A black female friend of mine who was head of HR at some company, and she said, "I don't discriminate against groups of people, but I do discriminate against individuals."
I like that though.
Say more.
What she was saying is, no, I don't discriminate. I don't look down on. I treat all groups as equal. But there are some individuals that I do look down on because of their behavior, their attitudes. They don't follow through. So that's what she was saying.
I agree with her, because I think Obama is the worst thing to happen in this country since they dropped the bomb on. You know what I mean? Obama. He's the worst thing to happen.
So listen, guys, the phone lines are on fire. I'm being told. Callers, give me my next caller. Tell me your name and where you're calling from. Talk to me right now. So What Morning Show in the building. Live callers. Let's go.
That one wasn't live.
Jokes for Corey Holcomb only. Thank you.
Did he say something?
Right.
I couldn't hear that.
No, he said a joke. I was like, jokes are only for Corey Holcomb.
I'll keep in my corner.
Jeez.
You have to know your place.
Caller, you're on the line. Talk to us. Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's good, Zoe? This is Ronan from Indianapolis.
Ronan from Indy. What's happening?
Maintaining, man. I want to say much love to you, Corey. Welcome back with the 5150 show and everybody talking about this topic.
Speak on it.
And I wanted you to, the main thing about these stereotypes, while there are benefits of it being good, the things that separate them is intensity and intent. And what I've noticed is when it comes to these stereotypes, there are the fearful who will allow you certain breadcrumbs to munch on. Like, let's say, like when they say with black folks, they say like you guys originated, mathematics and things in your history, but they will destroy, discredit, and all kind of things to those who aspire others to go reclaim who they really are. So when I see everything that's happening here, especially when you have the lesbian couple talking about, the situation with the child, a lot of those situations like these patchwork families, it's all forms of indoctrination. You get people comfortable with running from themselves and what they were meant to be. But I wanted to get you guys to, get your thoughts together as far as with the situation with this Ebola thing, which happens to be the new of biological gentrification.
Man,
I want to know what you got.
Man, hey, Brother Ronan, I appreciate you listening to the show and staying locked in with us this whole time. Thank you so much. And I promise you guys, I'm going to start getting you guys and your perspective in more through the caller lines. Again, the phone lines are open, 855-878-4652. We got to take a 1-minute break really quickly. But when we come back, more callers, more question, more info. We go in there. Zo What Morning Show talking about stereotypes. We'll be back in 2.2.
Who is the great magician who makes the grass green?
E prime is English without the use of any form of is or being.
We're trapped in linguistic constructs. All that is metaphor. I believe somebody said that before me. I've decided we can't get beyond words. What we got to do is get more cynical about our words. You'll find that by dispensing with is and trying to reformulate without is, you just naturally fall into the kind of expression which is considered acceptable in modern science. Also, it's the type of consciousness that Zen Buddhism tries to induce. Using E prime, you will understand modern science and Zen Buddhism both a lot better than you've ever understood them before. Martin Gardner has written a long essay proving that to think like this will destroy your mind. I think it adds tremendously to clarity. I am removing the is from my writing more and more. Removing it from your speech is even harder. Instead of thinking the grass is green, to think the grass appears green to me. And this saves me a lot of time, by the way. I don't get embroiled in arguments like Beethoven is better than Mozart, or rock is better than soul. I define such things as meaningless. And so people get into arguments like that. I just say, well, Beethoven seems better to me than Mozart most of the time. But I don't say Beethoven is better than Mozart. People would, by and large, act the hell a lot more sanely, especially if they, when they got rid of is, they put maybe in more sentences. I think that everybody used maybe more often. The increase in general sanity would be absolutely, it would seem absolutely astonishing and completely flabbergasted everybody. What the hell is this? We suddenly got a planet full of sane people? When did that start to happen? I didn't even notice it. You just listen to the craziest people on the news and on television, or the craziest columnists in the newspapers. You know, they never say maybe. They're always quite sure. And they always know is. And they never say seems. They always say is. People start arguing about words, and they're mostly arguing about whether the words that they apply to the objects they have created out of the infinity of possible objects that could be put together. They picked up a few of them.
Wow! That was the legendary Robert Anton Wilson, author of the book Prometheus Rising and Quantum Psychology. I urge you to go get those books. What he's breaking down is something called E prime. And the people on planet Earth who have a more direct contact with nature and reality are scientists, right? Scientists are at a point with string theory, quantum physics. They're at fourth dimensional math right now. In other words, the math is so fucking precise and intricate that English can't convey what the math is seeing. So what scientists have now done, right, really quickly, brief science thing, the electron is no longer a solid thing. It's only solid when we look at it. When we're not looking at it, it turns into a wave. So back in the 20s, when quantum physics was just coming into being, they said, what is that? Is it a wavicle? It's a particle and a wave at the same time. It's a wavicle. What is it? And then they started to recognize, listen to this very carefully for all those people who believe in the law of attraction. It knew The particle knew when we were observing it. Right. So our perception is what changed it into a physical thing. Do you understand? So whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove. So what he's saying here, we don't know what anything is. Scientists are saying we can't say what something is definitively. But when you're looking at something through a stereotype, you've been taught that the stereotype is a real thing. But it's just an idea.
Let me tell you something, boy, that shit sound good as hell, but I don't know what the fuck. Does anybody know what he's talking about for real? He had me for a little while, but then he got into this wave.
No.
What episode?
In honor of Geoff not being here.
Oh, I love this nigga.
This surmises Jeff's famous line where he says, I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you what it looked like.
Right.
Look like.
Well, how can you tell somebody
Jeff
what it ain't if you don't know what it is?
You know, it's like this table. This table may look solid, but it's not solid. I mean, there's more
from
air.
a quantum physics perspective.
There's more air between the particles or the molecules and whatever than there is solid.
Right.
You'll never convince anyone it's not solid.
I think it's just like the girls who get their butt done. Like, you know that's not how their butt was made for real, but it's there. You know what I mean?
It's there.
You can sit a plate on it.
But it's not real.
But it's not. It's something. The molecules have been manipulated somehow.
It's called
That's exactly it.
Right. I mean, I'm not dumb. I just can't word it like the people who read every day word it. But.
That's exactly it. You remember how, I'm going to ask this to Bobby, you remember how Big Mama would say, you don't know where you're going until you know where you came from, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
There's a scientific principle called the uncertainty principle.
Well, that's different from the simplicity of what Grandmama said.
Well, I wasn't finished, but I'm Idi Amin, remember? No, go ahead, Bobby. Bobby called me Idi Amin Dada during the break, so I just like to do that.
Generalissimo.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I guess, simplicity is something that I find more comfortable than when we language either brings you closer together or it divides people. Mm-hmm. And I find it easier when I'm speaking to people if I use first person, then you know what I'm saying. I'm going to have to stand on that. Mm-hmm. But if I use they, we, us, the room gets very crowded.
A lot of men who deal with simplicity, their female choices reflect that.
Okay.
I'm just saying. That's not you. I'm just saying.
No, it is me.
A lot of guys, I'm saying that about guys. Like a lot of guys I know who like simple shit.
Yeah.
When you see that girl, you be like, I get it.
Yeah. I like simplicity.
Yeah, but guess what?
We got callers. Go ahead. Say it, Hassan.
When you deal with simple girls, you don't have to deal with a lot of crazy stuff.
That's
it's
true, too.
It's all simple. Everything's just cool. You ain't got to worry about fighting all the time.
That takes us back to what Lunel said here last week. What is the true definition of a dime?
If you deal with a simple girl, if you think your game work, wait till she get wait till I get a load of her ear. I'm gonna have her bitch juggling knives.
Oh God!
You don't want no simple girl with a motherfucker like me get to talking.
Yo, we got Darnell from DC, DMV in the building. Holler at us, Darnell.
Oh, it's Cordero.
Cordero.
Ooh, he got
Cordero
a
from Washington,
ponytail.
D.C.
Corey Holcomb said, judging by your name, you got a ponytail.
Oh, nah.
he used to have one.
No, go ahead.
I had about the video that you just played by Mr. Williams, and I was saying the term is, when it comes to stereotype. Now, we all have positive, negative stereotypes, whether white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, but only the white Caucasian doesn't have the negative stereotype that's carried out or portrayed on the media.
That's true.
Very true.
That is true.
We just
that's
had,
not a
the
stereotype.
actor Stephen Collins, who white men in America are known for being pedophiles, pedophilia, rapists, serial killers, but not being portrayed on the media. Unlike a Ray Rice, who did something to his wife, or Adrian Peterson, who beat his child.
Wow. Hey, brother, I so appreciate that call. You just took us somewhere. I appreciate it. You guys hear about the actor from Seventh Heaven?
Yes.
Who's under investigation for pedophilia?
Under investigation is the word, not arrested.
But let me just say what's so really powerful about that. The negative stereotype for white men is that all white men are positive. Now, white men are good. Because you never see white men as being vicious. I'm talking about the way it's portrayed in society. Now, even Ted Bundy, right? Serial killer. But surprised everyone. I can't imagine Ted killing people. He had $1 million smile and the stereotype is white men are wholesome and good. So this dude was on a religious show. The seventh heaven was values and morals, and he's out cornholing little boys.
I'm just telling you, man, when I'm in Chicago and I ride past a Holmes restaurant, I'm like, I know some straight up gangsters that'll never be able to have a restaurant.
Never, ever.
In the heart of the city.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking about straight gangsters.
So we got Darnell. Okay, we got Neil from the ATL. ATL in the building, holler at us, man.
Hello.
That's a stereotype, Corey. What up, Neil? ATL.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Neil.
Yes, Neil. You're on the air, bro. Talk to us.
Oh, how you doing? Zoe, why y'all doing this weekend show?
Now see.
Look, I just
you really must want me to go in on you, Neil.
We probably over his head on this one.
Is he? Okay.
He don't think he probably really feels like it's not a good show because he's not catching none of this.
Yes, he might be catching
No. I'm catching it. No, look, I just wanted to say two things. I kind of agree with the doc about.
Wait, is the show a pussy ass show, or are you agreeing with people? What's happening?
Have you ever slept with a man?
Not at all, actually.
That was your attempt at trying to be funny. Oh, okay.
Can you honestly answer that question? Have you ever slept with a man?
No, I never have.
Okay, I was just wondering. I'll leave it alone.
You said Atlanta. I wanted to agree with what the doc was saying earlier about the black community making like a new type of history based on, and the reason why I say that is because it kind of seems like the African black man and the American black man are almost like two different types of people.
Brother, I appreciate that, man. Thanks so much for the call. That was good stuff. We gotta move on. Yeah, we do. Oh, absolutely. You know, Twitter, even the honorary AKAs can call in and bitch and complain about the show. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We got to take a break, but we got one more caller. Let's get to one more caller. We got Yusuf from South Carolina on the phone. Yusuf, speak on it, man. We just had a terrible caller.
Greetings and salutations, Brother Williams, and all the wonderful people on the panel. I'm going to keep this short and concise, man. First, I appreciate so much wisdom that you bring to us every week, man. Number two, let this marinate when you're driving home today. The contents of your mind is not even in your control. Everything you should think of, everything you ever thought of was here and is going to be here after you die. Third thing, I completely and wholeheartedly agree with Lord Holcomb. And if you want to know why, tune in tomorrow to the 5150 show, you lousy bitch.
Thank you, sir.
I can live with that. Yes.
I'm out of here, baby.
Hey, man, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it. Listen, we got to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap up the topic. We're going to get everybody's information, their comings and goings. Crazy topic. We'll be back at 2.2. Hey, let that bump, man. That's the equation. Let's go. Stereotypes, man. But you know what's interesting? The concept, don't judge a book by its cover. But that is the only way we are really able to interface in the world, is through ideas, and ideas are stereotypes. I'm sorry. That's the really only, even relationship scientists, they have something called the ideal standards model. Your ideas have to match up with my ideas. Even the Christians have taken it and said, oh, we're not equally yoked. They have no idea. Yoke, union, yoga. They don't understand any of that shit because they were taught by King James, the pedophile, homosexual remixer of the Bible, that they don't even know his fucking history.
Right.
So again, they're looking at life through the book, and they don't even know, just the book's cover, they don't even know what's in the book. So when you say don't judge a book by its cover, that means don't judge by outward appearances, but that's typically what most people do. That's how they get their snap judgments, right? Corey?
I just think somebody should take the time out to write a book on stereotypes that are right on, something that's brilliant, put together. Like if somebody with dirty clothes approach you in a gas station while you're pumping gas, he is about to ask you for something. That is a stereotype that you just cannot deny. If he says,
what if it's
"Excuse
Jesus?
me," what?
What if it's Jesus?
Who there? that's
you on the show with Jesus.
That's a stereotype. That's something you heard about.
Ooh. What? Did y'all hear that? Say more about that, Corey. That's something you heard about.
My mother is very upset with me because one day when she came from church and she asked me, "Why don't you ever go to church with me?" I said, "Y'all in that house of gossip." Ooh. You can't stand on
They're
nothing.
not going to call it the gospel. Right. It's the house of gossip.
Right. You
wow.
can't stand on nothing that you're talking about in there because you're reading it from a book that you heard about.
Wow. That's heavy. That's heavy. You can only judge by the book's cover.
Right. People get mad at me, but what can I say?
Yo, we got callers. I can't see that. I can't see it. You're going to have to bring it down. I can't see that. We got callers on the line. We got Russ from North Carolina. Russ, get in here, man. Talk to us about what we getting at.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where you're at right now. I had to pause my program, but I did want to touch on the Margaret Sanger, the Planned Parenthood part that you were talking about.
Yeah, go with it.
Okay. I believe it was viewed that, I guess Margaret Sanger said something like birth control had to lead ultimately to the cleaner race. And to me, it seems like Planned Parenthood is viewed as a good thing and is supported by Democrats. Do you agree? Or do you feel like the Democratic Party pushes black people blindly into these programs that will cause us to depend on the government?
Ooh, great.
I think that's the Democrats' stereotype of sorts.
Exactly.
Because they pretend to care. And the point he's leading us towards in his comment is one that we need to reconcile, and that is Democrats, Republicans, Independent. Those are all labels, and it pulls people away from the issues, and that's why we don't always vote align with the interests that we should be supporting. Because
so you vote?
Who, me? No, I ain't voted in a while.
But see, this is why I say the whole political process is a television show. It's a script, and most people don't understand that. In a really good television show, you have to have a protagonist and an antagonist, right? This is why Obama, in the beginning, in 2008, he was the hero. He was the protagonist. Change. And he's a black man. And that's the first time that, we don't want to talk about the first 5 black presidents in the Confederate. We don't want to talk about them. But this is the first time we have a black president. And the world is changing. We're going to be better. Why? Because you want to believe in the idea. That was a utopian idea that they got you smoking. And once you smoked it up and got high, you bought into the hustle. This is a show. This is a script. And I've said this before. This America, the world, we're all living on a script that has real consequences. It's a game, but the consequences are real.
Most people are sheep/cattle. And the only reason they watch people like, a Zoe show or somebody who speaks out is because their heart tells them that's what I should be, but they're not capable of being that because they are born to be cattle and sheep. Right. It's just it's too mean to say like that.
Right.
Yeah. You can't save those people who vote and will tell you wrong for not voting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What you're saying about the voting process being a show, the same way that when you watch a movie and there's a war scene and it feels so real and we see the people, those same people that produce those movies produce the news, and it's called the world theater. And that's what we're watching when we do all that. And it's just for play. Wag the dog, baby.
The only real thing about those movies is when the cowboys and Indians are off the screen, the Indians still can't eat at the same table with the cowboys.
Wow.
Wow.
Because I've seen the extras and what they get to eat.
Crisisactors.org.
It's raining outside. That's not even a tent. They give them plastic bags. And
listen, we got one more caller here. Darnell from Alabama. Holler at us, man.
Hello.
Darnell.
I don't think it's Darnell. It's a different name.
All right, Darnell, we got to bounce. The phone lines are still open if you want to participate. 855-878-4652.
You know, a minute ago you used the phrase they. Mm-hmm. Is they a stereotypical word? Because typically when we say they, especially as black people, when I hear black people...
You've made this argument before. I'm going to get your ass now.
I want it, man.
You done tore your drawers with me now.
Come here, man. Come here. Come right here. I want to know who they are.
Whenever somebody says they, you should ask them, who is they?
Right. Yeah. And we make we use they all the time when we're speaking of, in my opinion.
And who is we? Since you mentioned they, I mean we. Who is we?
Okay, can I answer they first and then get to we? God damn it. Murfreesboro in this motherfucker.
Come on, family.
But for me, they represent, when I speak, it represents the overreaching white supremacist control system that keeps the institutions in place. To me, marriage is a stereotype. To me, religion is a stereotype. To me, politics are stereotypes. These are all part of an overall...
Condoms are stereotypes.
Okay, no. But no, these are all part of the script, right? And you have to buy into something in order to be perceived as normal, right? Whenever you're avant-garde or too far to the left or too far to the right, that's how you're easily distinguishable and judged. To me, stereotypes are an instrument of judgment. Go ahead. That's who they are.
But when you wear a condom with a girl, that's a stereotype. You are telling her she a nasty slut.
Is that what you're telling her, or are you saying I want to be responsible for my penis, and if you are a nasty slut, I'll just want to protect myself?
No.
What if it's just about you?
Every time you put on the condom, especially in her presence, you are basically saying, you a nasty slut. And I must protect myself from you.
I don't even know you. Right. That's what you said.
You should come to her house with the rubber on. When you put it on in her presence, that's very disrespectful.
What you were saying, people being identified by their beliefs even, once people size you up as you believe in these type of things. Oh, you're one of them. My nephew says, Auntie Rita, are you part of the tinfoil hat club? And
one of the spaced out weirdos that we need to be careful of. Again, look at how they got you set up in social media. Your profile, how old you are, your ethnicity, the town you live in, and there's even your relationship status. This is a profile. This is how they can put you, this is how they line up the movies, the books you read, the television shows. This is how they line up advertisement to fit your particular mentality. It's all a stereotype. You this type. I guarantee you'll like the fact that fucking Desperate Housewives, all of the seasons will be packaged, and I'll put that promo on your page based off of what you like. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to go back to what Bobby was saying, because he's been bringing this up, and I think it makes a lot of sense, because when a lot of people don't want to say I, because it means you're going to be on the spot, and someone might hold you accountable. But when you say they, we, even you, all that, it allows you to wiggle away being held accountable for what you're saying, and I think that's a huge issue. So many people don't want to be accountable for anything.
When we say they, in my experience, we mean you, white folk, white men. We mean you.
I get what Doc is saying.
I get it too.
I don't like when people punk out and say they and all that. What are you talking about? Because I know I'll go at it, and I'm going to be blackballed, and
of course,
one day I'll be black bagged and snatched under a bed or something like that. And I just hate people who act like, well, Corey's bad.
He's evil.
Right? But
he hates women.
Right? But they're listening to me the whole time.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll tell a third-party story, and what it is I want to say to that person, I'll say to the third party story, but I'm really saying it to you.
Oh wow,
that's what gangsters do.
That's an indirect.
No, that's what gangsters do.
We've got Albert Davis on the phone from Houston, Texas. Albert, what's the word, man?
Albert? Yo, it's David, man.
Well, hey, it says Albert Davis.
He's ashamed of Albert, so he goes.
No, it's Alpha. Alpha David. Alpha David.
Alpha.
What up, Alpha?
Yeah, he
said Alpha David. Man?
What's happening, man?
I just had to call in, man, because that call from ATL, that was a pussy-ass caller, bro. I had to call in and set the record straight, man. Y'all keep doing y'all thing. I'm a long-time supporter. You know what I mean? Shout out to Bobby and Corey. You know what I'm saying? And
that's what's up.
5150 Nation. You know what I mean? We back in the house.
Back in the house.
To see that.
All right, now. All right, tomorrow, 8 p.m.
8 p.m. It's on.
It's on Ustream, right?
Man, I can't wait to hear from the book Corinthians again. You know what I'm saying?
The book of Corinthians. There it is.
Word.
So listen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, final thoughts. We're going to wrap it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Zoe What Morning Show back in the building. As is commonplace, you know this is the final thought. Stereotypes, to me, lead or may lead to black and white thinking. This is what I know, this is how I was raised, and this is what's right to me. The problem with that is, whenever you have a stereotype, you identify with it. Whenever you identify with something, you tend to want to defend it. Right? So, like, for instance, we've been talking about these, these different conversations for the longest. Say, take domestic violence. It becomes a feminist thing, right? And anything that is even perceived as anti-woman, it becomes a crusade and we have to fight for it, right? So what happens when you get everything you want? Are you still a feminist? If you've gotten everything you want, does that identity then go away? No, that's not how it works. We begin to institutionalize identities. Now, whether you get everything you want or not, say you get most of the stuff you want, you would think that identity needs to go away, but it doesn't. It becomes an institution, and we have to keep the candle or the torch lit for identities that we erect. Life is like a diamond, multifaceted. And the people who understand life understand multiple facets of life and not just the stereotypical positionality that they were raised in. Typically, when you send kids away to school, they become different. They begin to evolve and flower. Why? Because they're outside of the facet that they were raised in. Now that facet gets challenged, right? Wow, I never saw it that way. I didn't think that way. They gain what is called perspective. If you are a soldier in the army of the stereotype you were raised in, you're technically a prisoner because you can't see life for its multiplicity, for its diversity. You don't understand it, right? That shit is weird. I wasn't raised that way. That's outside of my thought process. I ain't fucking with it. You become adversarial. I believe that at some point you evolve beyond whatever little comfort zone you were raised in, because most people don't challenge the comfort zones that they were raised in. It's just like me talking to my son. I say, listen, if you've seen me and your mother argue, that is a model for communication for you, right? So then I wouldn't be surprised if I saw you and your girlfriend arguing. Right? Again, you have to break outside or at least challenge the stereotypical model you were raised in. Stereotypes might be like a type of training wheel, but at some point you got to take the motherfuckers off and ride on your own. Have some type of original thought, some type of original idea that identifies you. Right? How many sisters or brothers you know that can't get outside of the influence of their parents? Right? The stereotypical way of how they deal with things. I know women well into their 40s that can't reconcile their relationship with their mother, right? And the ideas that she put in them. You feel what I'm saying? Because, you know, that's the way. That's the right way. Just because it feels good to you doesn't necessarily mean it is good for you. Just because it is a comfort zone doesn't mean it is a zone that engenders growth. So I challenge everybody to go out and get a book on English prime. That is English without the use of is, right? Sociologists have another concept called the fundamental attribution error. I thought this was very interesting, right? We judge people by what they look like. Don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody say that in church, but then go out and judge people all day long. The fundamental attribution error says this. We'll look at a certain behavior or people, and then we'll instantly judge them or attribute a label to them, right? You say me and Bobby in the car, and we almost get run off the road by an Asian. The first thought process is, fucking Asians? These motherfuckers can't drive. Why are they on the road out at this motherfucker? Fundamental attribution error. We may not know, because we don't have enough information or context. This dude was reaching in the back because his wife is having a baby. He dropped his cell phone. He was trying to grab his phone and swerved. But immediately, because we don't have that access, we don't have that contextual understanding, we attribute a negative label. The fundamental attribution error. Go look it up. It's what we do. We are the most roboticized people on planet, especially America. Why? Because we're at the top of the pyramid. Just like Dr. G said, you go to Mumbai, poverty is a part of their religion. So they kind of live with it and understand and find a level of happiness. Here in America, if I see Corey, he got on a fucking hoodie, he's already 6'3", and he got weight on, oh man, let me cross the motherfucking street. That nigga gonna hurt me. That's a comedian, he's an entertainer. The fuck is you doing? Right? So again, we are the most judgmental people on planet Earth. And if we want to change the way we interface, we got to challenge the stereotypes that we were raised in. We got to challenge the model. I'm Zoe Williams, and that's my final thought. Now, with that said, let's move quickly. Rita G.
Can I just say, I have never been in a room with this many handsome men who are equally captivating intellectually, and it's really been a pleasure. And
Yummification.
Everybody, go check out my site for the skincare, which is viaskinscience.com. And if you want to see some of my photography, RitaGphotography.com.
Yes, please go support her work. My man, Oui Juice, Hassan.
Oui Juice, check me out. For the Zoe callers, you get a 15% discount, and you get some free gear. Thank you.
Excellent. Dr. G?
MarkGoulston.com, GOULSTON.com. Come visit.
Google me, bitches. Corey Holcomb?
Be on the lookout for my new book. Chances are your child is a failure because you suck at life.
Oh, wow, damn. Okay, and Bobby?
Hey, you can get on with me at realmendon'tplay.com. And I would hope that at this point we'll postpone the Real Men Don't Play Black boycott. I'm getting more white people buying my book than black.
Wow. Listen, the last 15 copies, of course, we didn't do well last week because of technical difficulties. If you buy my book today, I will add my lecture on religion and God. I will add it into it. It's called Street Scholar, the God Class Volume 1. And for people who already bought the book and you still want the God Class, you can go to CD Baby and look up Street Scholar, the God Class Volume 1, and download the MP3. But for everybody who's buying it right now, bam, I'm putting it in there with you. I'm going to the post office tomorrow. And please write your correct address or you won't get your book. I love y'all. I'll see you next week. The Zoe Morning Show in the building. Holla at you next week. Deuces.